bless you this Tuesday. I am really enjoying presiding Bishop Curry's book, Love is the Way, our St. Mary's Summer Reading Focus. I did not know that after his ordination at the Washington Cathedral as presiding bishop in 2015, while going to get a cup of coffee, Michael Curry fell. For 6 weeks, there were no after effects. Then, while preaching at Bruton Parish in Williamsburg, suddenly Curry stopped making sense. His assistant, Canon Michael Hunn, and a doctor in the congregation told Curry that they needed to get him immediately to hospital. A few hours later, he was being operated on for a slow brain bleed. In the following weeks, he had to relearn to read and write, and for a long while was only able to function at 50% brain capacity. You can read about this in chapter 9. And yet, our presiding bishop had vitally important work to do only 6 weeks after that brain surgery. The 85+ million member Anglican Communion was in serious danger of being rent apart over the 2003 ordination of Bishop Gene Robinson and differing views on human sexuality. There was resentment amongst some of the primary leaders or primates of the developing world at their perceived American imperialism, foisting our power and culture on the rest of the world. Travelling to the Canterbury, England conference as our Episcopal Church representative, presiding Bishop Curry was completely overwhelmed in the airport, holding on tightly to the arm of one of his travelling companions. In a moment of panic at night, alone in his dorm in Canterbury, he prayed that God's Spirit would carry him through the following days. In a way, he felt that it was good that he was not fully functioning, because then he was more open, he said, to listening to his heart. Several days later, after a mutual foot-washing ceremony by the 30 primates, they finally agreed to walk together in loving relationship, as it says in Ephesians 5 verse 2, even though they disagreed. And I was deeply moved by our presiding bishop's courage in what happened next. The night before the final vote on the resolution of how to move forward as one Anglican communion, exhausted, Curry penned a letter to the gathered archbishops, which he then read the following day. His desire in reading this letter was to create long-term healing for the gay and lesbian community, hurt so long by the Christian Church. He spoke as the descendant of African slaves, themselves painfully segregated and excluded in church and society in America. Thanks to the Holy Spirit and the prayers of many in America, Curry felt God moving powerfully in his weakness. He said, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." Friends, sometimes we may feel weak and powerless, as if what we say or do doesn't make any difference. Perhaps you feel like that in your job, or your school, or in society. As we get older, we experience increased bodily fragility. We feel more of life's traumas that can affect our minds and hearts. St. Paul, afflicted with a painful bodily ailment, asked God 3 times to heal him. But God replied, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You can find that in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verses 1 to 11, especially verse 9. Just as Jesus allowed himself to be vulnerable and broken while living amongst us, we can open ourselves up to God. We can let go and let God. We can pray that God's Spirit flows through us in our weakness. We don't have all the answers. We are neither that powerful nor that perfect. Yet God's grace is sufficient. When we are just ourselves, God's Spirit can flow through us to bring in more of God's kingdom, just as God used St. Paul and presiding Bishop Curry. If I have not met you or spoken with you, please do email me or call my cell, because I would love to get to know you. May you have a blessed Tuesday.